Hi class, this is Kevin Burkett, your instructor for Digital Media 101. Last week we were talking about forums and Microsoft forums. Kept calling them Google forums when they're actually called Microsoft forums. Anyway, what I wanted to do was I wanted to go into more depth of what a Microsoft forum is and show you exactly how you create a forum, because this is part of your next project where you're going to create a forum and you're going to embed that code directly into your website for me to fill out and for you to get the information from. So what I'm going to have you do is you're going to go back to Brookdale's website, brookdalecc.edu. You're going to log into the Microsoft Office 365 series, and you're going to click on where it says Forums. Okay. Now I have a bunch of forums already built. I have something for professional studies, how to build a forum. I made a forum for the Monday class, a forum for the Thursday class, a forum for my camera theory class, a survey, a whole bunch of stuff. So what I'm going to do is basically walk you through the process of how to build a forum, and the forum that I'm going to choose for you to show you is going to be the Camera Theory Late Fall 2018 forum. Okay? So if you see, the forum is pretty much straightforward. There's a lot of information here that's going on, but there's stuff hidden behind the scenes that you actually don't get to see about. So the first thing I wanted to do was I wanted to ask a person's name. Now, you can make this mandatory or you can make this optional. I chose to make this mandatory, their first and last name. I already have their name on the roster anyway. I don't need to know anything about them other than who they are and what they're doing. Everything else from question 3 all the way down to the very, very end is optional. It's not optional, it's anonymous, I should say. But they don't have to answer if they don't want to. So the way that I structured this form was I'm teaching a class in camera theory, so I want to know if they're using a mirrored or mirrorless system. So if they're using a mirrored system, the question would be like, are you using a Canon or Nikon? And then the model comes down to, is it a Canon model or a Nikon model? And then if it's a mirrorless camera model, it's broken down by brand and then other information. Okay? So let's go ahead and check out the form in preview mode. So the first 3 questions are going to be, the first one's going to be, what's your name? So I'm going to type in my name, which is going to be Kevin. My last name is just Burkett. And I'm using a mirrorless camera. When I choose that, it automatically asks me which camera I'm using. So I'm going to say Fuji. And then I'm going to say X Pro 2. And then from here, it's going to ask me what I like taking pictures of. Choose all that apply. So I'm able to create a question where I can choose, I like portraits, I like nature, I like sports, I like people, etc. So I'm primarily a nature and outdoors kind of guy. So that's all I'm going to choose. And I ask 3 basic questions. How much do you know about ISO? How much do you know about aperture? And how much do you know about shutter? I know a lot about all these, so I'm going to say I'm an expert. And then the question is, have you considered using camera filtering? And since I do use filtering, I'm going to say yes. And then I'm going to ask what I want to get out of the class. And here I'm going to say, I want the class to teach me more. ... And submit. Now, when you do that, you're all done. Okay? But how did we get to this point? So we built our form. We came in and we created the form. So let's go ahead and do that. We're gonna go to form. We're gonna go to the how to build a Microsoft form, and what we're gonna do is we're going just to create a new question, and it's as simple as add question. And from here you do a choice where you have multiple choice. You have those sort of options. You have add question. You can add text, where you can add a textual response to your question. You can add a question where you can say a rating, and the rating can be a star, or the number can be a rating of like a 1 to 5 sort of thing. So I think it's pretty trendy to have stars, so I'm going to leave it as stars. And then in this ellipse on the right-hand side, you can give a label, and the number 1 label could be bad, and the 5-star rating could be excellent. How much do you like Kevin? And we're going to change this to good to not much. Best friend. And we're going to hit the add question. And now when we're done, this question is going to pop up on our sheet. So let's preview this. We go all the way down to the bottom. We see how much the question is. How much do you like Kevin? Do you like Kevin? Not much. He's okay. So we're gonna give him 3 stars. And when you submit this information, that information is submitted on the responses. What I really want to show you is the Camera Theory Late Fall 2018. And there's an ellipse at the top of the screen. If you click that ellipse, you get this service called branching. And what branching does is branching allows you to map out where your questions go from point A to point B. So if someone chose mirrored, it would go to question 4. If they chose mirrorless, it would go to question 7. If they chose Canon, which model is your Canon? Nikon, which model is your Nikon? So the form feels customized to the audience that's using it. And eventually, it gets all the way down to where after question 8, it just goes in order of what you're doing. So questions 1 through 8 are all jumbled together and all point to each other. And then when you get to question 9 and question 10, 11, and 12, you see all that. So again, if we go through and we preview this response, you're going to see your first name, your last name. Is it a mirrored system? Is it a Nikon or Canon system? And you can see it's asking you questions about Canon. But you don't get to answer question 6 until I get the information from you what your model of your camera is. Is it a mirrored or mirrorless system? And if you notice how if I switch between Canon and Nikon in question number 5, and if it goes to other, I have you write down what other system you're using, whether it's Pentax, Olympus, or maybe you're even using an older style kind of camera that just doesn't apply to what I'm teaching. So that essentially is what forms do. The most important part of the form, though, is in this service here, in the ellipse service here in the settings. What you want to do is under settings, you want to have anyone can fill out this form or anyone with the link can respond. By clicking that, anyone in the world can fill out this form. They can fill it out multiple times, but they can fill out this form. And then what I've done is for this form here, I want this form to be available from 10:30 in the morning until the 8th at, we're going to say it's going to be due at 11:30 at night. That way my audience has a 3-day window to fill out this form to give me your information. And I believe one of the students in the Monday class asked me, could you customize your message at the end? And the answer is yes. You can do a customized thank you message at the end by clicking on customize thank you message and then filling the information in between. So there's a couple ways that you can share this information. By clicking on the share button, you have the ability to link it directly into a page as a hyperlink. You have the QR function where it generates a QR code for you. You have the embed function, which allows you to embed the video or embed the content form, I should say, not video, content form into your web page, which is what you're going to be doing. Or you can email the form directly from your email client as well. So you've done all that, you've built your form, you've sent it out, then you get responses. Well, here's some responses. I have first names, last names from people. Now you're seeing that you have a mirrored or mirrorless system. You have one mirrorless system, which is me, and you have 5 mirrored systems. Everyone's shooting on Nikon who are using the mirrored systems. You get to see the responses for the types of cameras they're shooting on, 3400s, 5100s, 3500s. And then you get to see which mirrorless brand are you using. And right now, Fuji is at 100% because I chose that. And then I chose them with the X Pro 2. And then I adjusted this a little bit because I only shoot nature or outdoors. So the responses are a little skewed because I've done that, but I put mine in there anyway. And then it tells you what the average rating is for the responses. So the average rating went from 2.25 to 2.67 or 2.83 because I put those responses in. And then have you ever considered using on-camera filtering? People have considered it, but they don't know what's going on. And then there's a whole bunch of responses. And the responses come back something like this. And as you can see, it's basically like how to handle theory, how to take better pictures, how to deal with my children, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that is a form. You can build an unlimited amount of forms. You can do anything you want to do with them. And the cool thing about the forms that you're putting together is, another cool function about the forms, you can add pictures. So here's a form that I'm building for class that I want to have as as a satisfaction report for the class that I'm teaching on Saturday. I'm going to send this out to the people at the end and have them fill it out, so I thought I would just put my picture in it. Hopefully this condensed version will bring you up to speed on what a form is, what it does.